Last night on MasterChef Australia.
This is a sudden death taste test.
4 amateurs battled it out to stay in the competition.
I'm petrified.
But for Philip, the MasterChef dream ended.
Pity had to end so quickly, but at the end of the day, there's only going to be one person left.
Tonight, Gary and George take over the kitchen for a supersized masterclass.
First up, we're going to have fun with the American theme.
George revamps a Waldorf salad and Gary cooks the ultimate sticky ribs.
Just going to get people begging for more.
Also on the menu, 2 classic Italian dishes with a twist.
Absolutely beautiful.
Plus, renowned chef Peter Kuruvita untangles the world of crustaceans.
Welcome to some secrets.
And serves up 2 tasty recipes.
It's all about sensations. That's what food's all about.
Masterclass is awesome. I'm here to learn, and there's no one better to learn off than George and Gary.
This week's been an absolute killer of a week for me. It's great to be able to sit back, learn from the best, and pick up some new tips and skills.
Welcome to Masterclass once again. What a massive week. I think the biggest week so far. Some rough and tumble, some drama, some hard knocks. There are 16 battle-hardened contestants standing in front of us. It's a hell of a journey, isn't it? But you know what? You learn a lot, don't you? It makes you stronger, doesn't it? And I'm sure you're feeling pretty good to be one of those 16 sitting here today in Masterclass.
Right from the top of the week, you guys were put together in trios to compete in the International Invention Test. And what a test that was.
Let's go, Georgie.
The least impressive were Team UK and Team USA.
You haven't really done all that much.
Team UK went into an elimination round, and Daniel was the 7th contestant to leave the competition.
And then last night, another elimination round. 4 contestants faced off in a taste test.
Can't get my head around it. I think I'm going to go white wine.
There is no white wine in the bouillabaisse.
And Philip stumbled. Jimmy, you were close to Philip. How does it feel without him there?
Oh, it was probably the worst feeling in the competition, sitting at home. I mean, it was great to see the other 3 guys come back, but I guess it was just the saddest part for me. It's an empty house now, and it feels a little empty.
Next announcement for Masterclass is something that's becoming a bit of a regular feature with us here on a Friday. And that's our private Masterclass. We picked 4 people that are going to get the privilege of going somewhere else to pick up a few little tips and tricks, some secrets that they might not otherwise find out. Those 4 people are Jimmy, Fiona, because we think you need a bit of a pick-me-up, Sky, same thing, you've had an up and down week, and Peter. So where are the 4 of you going? You're going for a special masterclass with Peter Kuruvita from Flying Fish. No one knows fish like this guy. Hopefully he'll bring back some stuff you've never seen before. Time to go. And we'll see you back here later.
Have fun.
Peter's restaurant is Flying Fish. It's a one-hat restaurant, and I've heard that it does some amazing seafood.
A private masterclass with Peter is just going to be an amazing experience for myself. He just makes the most amazing food.
Okay, the first thing we're going to revisit is the invention test, and that was an international invention test. In the end, it was Team America that inspired George and I to do something for Masterclass today. We wanted two dishes that contrasted each other. One that's a bit of fun and that you need a beer with. We're going to do a sticky pork ribs. So first of all, we've got some pork ribs, which we're going to put a rub onto and braise. And normally this rub would be on for 2 to 3 hours. Just pop it in the fridge and just let all those flavours kick through. So I need a hand for this one. Carrie, you're on the American team, so up here. You're going to do the mucky jobs while I do the easy jobs. Now, the reason we're using pork ribs is because they're fatty. And that's what makes them really moorish. You can use beef ribs, but when I do beef ribs, I'll put things like mustard and breadcrumbs and bigger flavours onto them, whereas pork ribs lend themselves really well to a good braise. And this is sort of a grill and a braise because you want it nice and soft. All right, first of all, we're going to do the spice rub, okay? And we've got 9 spices or 9 ingredients here which we're going to use. So we've got about a tablespoon of chopped onion, finely chopped onion, about a tablespoon of finely chopped garlic, about a teaspoon of mustard powder, got a teaspoon of smoked paprika, and that's going to give that very typical sort of deep capsicum smoky flavour. Teaspoon of chilli powder, you can put more in if you want, but this is nicely hot. Teaspoon of cumin, and a teaspoon of oregano, and about a tablespoonful of brown sugar, and about a tablespoonful of salt. Seems like a lot, but we've got at least 1.5 kilos of ribs there. So that's the basic rub. So give that a mix. And what we're going to do is we're going to use the same basic ingredients in the actual barbecue sauce or the braising liquid, okay? And the whole idea is that they're going to cook for a period of time and all that braising liquor is going to reduce down, get all sticky and then go around the ribs. So basically chuck your ribs in, you can do a few at a time and make sure it's just nicely rubbed into the rib, all right? And like I say, you can marinate these and then pop them in the fridge. We're going to pretend that these have been marinating for a couple of hours and we're going to pop them onto the barbecue to give them that charry, smoky flavour. It's going to give it quite a noticeable flavour, even though we're going to braise it afterwards. You can't really, with this cut of meat, just barbecue it and expect it to be, you know, really tasty and moorish. It's going to be chewy because there's a lot of connective tissue on there. So that's why it's got to go through the braise. Because what will happen in the fridge is all those lovely paprika and chilli powder and garlic all just going to get into that meat. And it's amazing how much difference that marinade makes, actually. All over?
Yep.
Okay, and then we're going to just put just a little bit of oil just to help that out on the barbecue. And then we're going to pop over to the barbecue and grill those. Carrie, thanks very much.
Thank you.
That's your job done. And I'll just grill these for a few minutes on each side. Nice and high, nice and hot. Just so we get that nice charry flavour. Now, you don't have to do this. You can put it on a griddle pan or you can just roast it well in a roasting pan and pour all the marinade over the top, but you will notice a difference because you don't have that charriness off the grill and from the smoke. So there'll be about 3 to 4 minutes on each side just to get that charriness. Okay, next up we're going to make the sauce that the ribs are going to braise in. So we've got a couple of extra ingredients on top of essentially the same spices that are in the rub, so nice and easy. So we've got a cup of malted vinegar, and this is to give you the acidity, because remember we want sweetness and acidity in any good barbecue rib. And then brown sugar, it's about a cup of brown sugar. And then you've got about half a cup of bourbon. And then you've got 1 onion, finely diced. You've got 1 tomato, finely diced, just leave all the seeds in, because remember this is all going to collapse and break down. 2 tablespoons of tomato sauce. Got about a tablespoon of Dijon mustard. We've got a teaspoon of cinnamon. Got a teaspoon of cumin. Got a teaspoon of chili powder. So again, very similar to the marinade. Teaspoon of smoked paprika. And then I've got a teaspoon of mustard powder. That's English mustard powder. And a couple of bay leaves. And then I want a good pinch of salt. About a teaspoon, teaspoon and a half. So next up, we're going to put the peel or the zest from the orange, and this will caramelise and break down. So that's why I'm putting it in long strips, because that's going to caramelise as it cooks. All right, what I'm doing is just bringing that mixture up to the boil. So when the ribs are cooked, you know, they've got that nice caramelisation. They're going to go in a roasting tray, and then that hot marinade goes over the top. So putting in a jalapeno, seeds and all, and that's going to add a bit of kick to the sauce, just to infuse all those flavours. And what I'm getting is that sweet sour, and then a bit of that chili heat kicking through. So let's have a look at these ribs. This is what I'm after. I'm after this nice charriness here. They're not far off. Right, nice non-stick, heavy-duty roasting pan, important. And then in go the ribs. And the reason it's important is that if you've got a flimsy baking tray, it doesn't conduct the heat that well. You want something like this. If you buy that, even though it's going to be much more expensive than a flimsy roasting tray, it's going to last you a lifetime, especially at home. And it's important that you get a nice, even distribution of heat all through that dish, all right? So, ribs have been grilled, and let's put the sauce on. And then all we've got to do is just pour this lovely sweet and sour sauce over the top of the ribs. Look at all that. That looks absolutely... Oh. Geez, cleans your nose as well. Beautiful. So all that's got to happen now is this just goes in for a bit of a slow braise for about an hour and a half until they're nice and soft. And how do you know they're nice and soft? Basically, you should be able to push the spoon through the flesh or through the pork meat between the bones. And if you can push it through, then it's cooked, because that tells you that when you eat it, it's going to be nice and tender. Right. Now, these are going to go into the oven at about 185 degrees for an hour and a half. And the whole idea is that you turn those as the liquor starts to reduce and starts to caramelise, maybe 3 or 4 times during that hour and a half. And hopefully at the end, you're going to have just enough sauce just to coat those ribs to make them nice and shiny and sticky. That's all you need.
After the break, Gary plates up his sticky ribs.
OK, so who wants to taste? We've got the ribs now in the oven, and they need to cook for about an hour and a half so they're nice and tender. In the meantime, George, what are you going to make?
I'm going to make a simple Waldorf salad, an inspiration from the Waldorf Hotel in New York City.
What's the essence of a good Waldorf?
Well, I think fresh apple, fresh celery, you know, walnuts, toasted walnuts, but a really delicious and yummy mayonnaise.
OK, and that's my job.
That's your job, because you make a great mayonnaise.
I've been waiting to show you how to make a simple mayonnaise. Why? Because it's so easy. You don't have to buy it. And a few of you have had problems. It's the whole emulsion, or the whole idea of the emulsion, that you're having problems with. And the emulsion in a fresh egg mayonnaise is the egg and the oil. And once you understand how that all comes together, you'll have confidence. Now, somebody that didn't do too well was Alvin with your coleslaw. It is the first time he's made mayonnaise, you can tell, and that's not the best coleslaw, I'll be honest. So with that in mind, Alvin, come up and you're going to help me with the mayonnaise. OK, Alvin. Yeah. This is amazingly simple. You're going to laugh. First of all, nice little blender like this little canister blender. It's very fast. Instead of having to use a whisk, which you can cheat and use this baby, right? 1 tablespoonful of mustard, nice and heaped. Yep, good. Mustard is an emulsifier, so that's going to help emulsify the egg and the oil. 2 whole eggs. Ah, whole eggs, not just egg yolks. A lot of recipes require just egg yolks, OK, and that's classic, but the egg white helps it bond and bind as well, and there's nothing worse than having recipes with egg yolks only, because what do you do with the egg whites, right? 2 tablespoons full of a sweet vinegar, in this case a white balsamic. And I like that little bit of sweetness, and because a lot of the bought mayonnaises have got added sugar, people get used to that flavour, but it's actually quite nice because it's the whole acidity and sweetness thing at play again. Pinch of salt. Now, because a blender is so fast, unlike whisking by hand, which is slow, you can put a large amount of oil in to start off with, because the blades spin, bang, hundreds of times within the first few seconds. I'm going to put in a good measure of oil first, right? Click the lid on, start it off. And just give it a, 10 seconds. 10 seconds, on. You can see it coming together, right? Turn it off. All right, and you can see this, it's not split, even though it's thin, right? See how it's all emulsified together? So you can use that as a good indicator. You can put another quarter of the oil in, turn it on. See how it smooths out there? Turn it off. Add another third of the oil. Turn it on. Give it another 30 seconds. Same thing will happen. Now, see it? That's it. And again, you can have a look at it. See? It's nice and smooth. Add half of that. Turn it on again. Looking beautiful. Okay, done. Now we want this really thick, right? But see what's happening? It's so thick now that the machine's having trouble just mixing it around, okay? So remember that if your mayonnaise looks particularly oily, you can add a little splash of water or vinegar or lemon juice just to sort of bring it together, because it's the water that will also then act as a sort of a medium to allow it to emulsify. It becomes too oily, it will split. Turn it back on. Okay, done. Wow. Does that look a bit different to your mayonnaise? Just try, don't eat the whole lot, but just try that. Dip your finger in it. And obviously you can season that the way you want. Creamy.
Really good.
It's a great mayonnaise. It's just very simple. You can add whatever flavour you want into it. But remember, use a little canister blender like that. Makes it very, very easy. I'm not even going to bother putting it into a container. I'm done. I'll see you in a minute with your Waldorf salad.
Thanks, Gary.
Cheers, mate.
Right, so Waldorf salad. The essence of the Waldorf salad is the acidity and sweetness of that apple and the mayonnaise. So we're going to really accentuate those elements, okay? The apple, I want to put a couple of little textures on there. So I'm going to make a simple apple jelly, okay? And as well as that, fresh apple on the plate. So to make the apple jelly, Adam, come up, join me. Let's make it together, mate. I think for me, when I make any type of fruit jelly, it's all about the fruit, okay? If it's apple, all I want to put into it is apple. I don't want to start fussing it around too much with adding other elements, other flavours. Using the juicer, you can leach out all those beautiful flavours. So the first step is to make apple juice. I'm using green apples because I think they've got a real lovely tartness to them. You know, as well as sweetness, there's this sort of bitterness and sharpness about them that I really love. We're just going to quickly remove that pith, okay, and the pips, all right? The pips are bitter, and they're not going to add beautiful flavour to it. You ever made a jelly before, Adam?
I have, actually, on the weekend.
Yeah, what'd you make?
Maple syrup jelly.
Ooh, yum, delicious. Okay, next step, squeeze a lemon so it doesn't oxidise or go brown, the apple. Next step, juicer. Pop all your apples in and then put the lid on and then turn it on. Joanne, you got a question?
If you don't have a juicer,
Yep.
can you use like a good organic juice, apple juice for this recipe?
Nothing saying you can't. I just love freshly squeezed juice. I think there's just nothing better.
Yeah.
Okay, beautiful, fantastic. So we'll set that aside. Next step is to soak our gelatine. For 500 mils of apple juice, we've got 4 sheets of gelatine, okay? Now, we need to soak the gelatine. Look, I prefer to use gold leaf gelatine. It's a refined product. It's top notch. It's the A-grade stuff. You can use powdered gelatine if you prefer. Adam, thank you, mate.
Thanks, George.
Right, guys, our gelatine's been soaking in water, okay? And we're just going to pop that into a pan. And then with a little bit of the juice, we're just going to temper the gelatine. And I only do that with a little bit of the juice. I don't do it with all of it. I don't want to boil this, okay? The flavour's complete for me. If I boil it, I'm going to affect its flavour. And generally what you do is when you boil something or cook something so delicate like that, you send all that flavour into the air, okay? I want it in there. I don't want to lose that. I'm just going to pass this liquid now. As you can see, it's starting to separate. So we've got the froth on the top and all the juice on the bottom. So as you can see, our gelatine is melting in with that little bit of juice of the apple that we've added in there. Now I'm going to add this melted gelatine into my apple mixture. We'll just stir that through. Then this goes into a tray. This will take about an hour to 2 hours to set in a fridge. Because we haven't got much time, I'm going to pop that jelly into the blast freezer and chill it down as quickly as possible. Right, guys, the next step. Gary made this beautiful mayonnaise, and what I'm going to add to it is some onion sweet and sour. This is ultra, ultra simple, okay? 1 onion, finely diced. You don't need oil. Sugar, 1, 2.5 tablespoons of sugar. In keeping with the theme of the Waldorf salad, I'm using a cider vinegar, probably about 1/2 cup. Gas, a nice sort of medium heat, all right? Now, this is what our onions will look like after 20 minutes. There's no colour, okay? They're just nice and translucent and sort of goldenish. As you can see, there's not much liquid left at all. It's all dissolved pretty much. So I'm going to add a couple of spoons of this delicious mayonnaise Gary made. 1, 2. And that forms the dressing to our Waldorf salad. Onion mayonnaise, sweet and sour. Right, I want to put some fresh green apple on there. Okay, and I just want to do nice, thin slices that I'm going to present on the plate. And just a little bit of lemon juice over the top so it doesn't oxidise or go brown, the apple. Right, I'm going to toast some walnuts, and I think, you know, again, the walnuts are a crucial element to the Waldorf salad. So we throw a few of these walnuts into a pan, and I'm just going to sugar them lightly and just sort of dry roast them in the pan, okay? A little pinch of salt, that's as simple as that. Right, let's plate up. So first of all, our sweet and sour onion mayonnaise. So, blob, blob, and then some apples. A few up like that, a few up like that. Then some of our little baby cos leaves, which are just gorgeous. I want to show these off. Right, some celery. Just going to stand these up and again show them off because they're just beautiful. Then some walnuts. Okay. Next step is these beautiful nasturtium leaves. You can buy these from any good nursery, these nasturtium leaves. Next, some of this frisee. We're just going to scatter that around. Starting to look really beautiful. Right, jelly's set, and I'm simply just going to scoop some nodules out of jelly and just pop that on the plate without any fuss. Doesn't need to be cubes or squares, yeah? And then, finally, a bit of the old fella, my mate, olive oil, and some of Gary's mate, salt. Right, guys, so here's my interpretation of a Waldorf salad.
Wow, that looks great, George. Now for the ribs, what a contrast. Huh? Beer ribs and your beautiful salad. Lovely. Right. Right, so they've been in, George, for about an hour and a half. And what we were looking for is this sauce to get all nice and sticky so that we can tip all that oily stickiness all over the ribs. And it's got to be nice and soft. So you see, you can just put your spoon through. Ooh. So all we're going to do is just break those down in between the bone. And then pop those on. And you know what? I reckon I could pretty much demolish that myself. Right, and I'm just going to put some lime cheeks on. I'm excited, George. I'm excited.
Delicious.
All that sort of oiliness. A bit of the sauce, all right? So, sticky ribs, George.
Brilliant. And here's my Waldorf salad.
Oh, look at that.
Delicious. Nice
How
little
different is
American flavour.
Beautiful. Okay, so who wants to taste? It can only sadly be 3 of you. Carrie, Adam, and Matthew. Some forks, some spoons. Carrie, are they finger licking good?
Bit of smoky. Real smokiness coming through them and
Bit of sweetness.
bit of
Bit of
sweetness.
sourness. Great. Matthew?
The ribs are amazing.
Good ribs?
The meat is cooked to perfection.
Beautiful. Now, what about the salad, Adam?
I really like the salad. That apple jelly just gives it a really different texture and a different flavour, and it still works as a really savoury dish.
Guys, take a rib and rib away. Ribbit, ribbit. Bye. Okay, top tips for ribs. Flash them over the barbecue first with that spice rub. Hitting it on the barbecue will give you that lovely smoky charriness. Tip number 2, good balance of sweet, sour and heat. That's what makes them really Moorish, which is the sugar and the vinegar and then the chilli, which makes you want to just keep going back for more. And the third one, to make sure that you braise it for long enough so that it's just falling off the bone. So you can suck all that meat off the bone and you want to go back for more and more.
Right, top tips for Waldorf salad. If you're going to put fresh apple in it, make sure you squeeze the apple with a little bit of lemon juice once you've sliced it so it doesn't oxidise and go brown. If you're going to add something like sweet and sour onions to a mayonnaise, make sure it's thick. You don't want it to be runny and watery. It needs to still be able to hold on the plate.
Those are our American-inspired dishes. Hopefully they've inspired you. You can never go wrong with some sort of interpretation of a Waldorf salad on your menu, and sticky ribs on the bar menu will sell like crazy. Hope you enjoyed it.
I'm so lucky today to be part of this special masterclass at Peter Kuruvita's restaurant, Flying Fish, on a beautiful sunny day, views of the Harbour Bridge. How much better can it get?
I'm not someone that normally cooks with a lot of seafood, so it'd be really great to get a better understanding of cooking with crustaceans.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm Peter Kuruvita. This is my restaurant, Flying Fish. Welcome. I'm co-owner and head chef here, as well as being part of Flying Fish Fiji at the Sheraton Nandi. I've been in the industry about 31 years. The thing that defines Flying Fish is our little twist on Sri Lankan flavours. The cooking style would easily be described as seafood cooked simply, served elegantly in a beautiful surrounding. You guys have done a mystery box a few days ago and your main ingredient was mud crab, I heard. Some of you got right into it, some of you had a play and other people didn't even touch it. Crustaceans are just amazing things, and George and Gary have asked me to come and tell you a little bit about them and hopefully get you over those barriers and hopefully I can give you a bit of an edge on the rest of them as well. What I'm going to do today is show you 2 really simple, tasty dishes using the West Australian Maron. But first, I'm going to take you through the world of crustaceans. I'm going to start with prawns. Prawns are available in hundreds of species. You can buy them in the markets green, which is uncooked, or cooked. Fresh prawns don't really last because a prawn has an enzyme in it which actually keeps growing when the prawn dies. The head goes black and the head will start to droop. So a frozen prawn is better. You're better off taking it home, defrosting it under clean running water. First, school prawns. You can buy them green or cooked, then lightly floured, pan-fried or deep-fried with a bit of aioli, lemon juice, really that's all you need. You can eat it all as well. The cooked ones are great for barbecues. Just give them to your guests with a finger bowl and a cloth. The king of all prawns for Australia is the Eastern King. It's got beautiful flesh, it's wonderfully flavoured, and when you cook it, it stays nice and firm. Take you next into the world of crabs. Now crabs, I'll be back in a minute. Whoa, this guy nearly got me. That's a Queensland mud crab. When you feel for a crab, when you pick up a crab, fingers underneath and hold it like that and hope to hell that it's tied, because that you'll lose your finger. That'll take your finger off, no problem, or crush it very badly. You hold them quite tight, and if you roll them over, you can feel the weight. There's another train of thought where if you squeeze this back flipper, it should be nice and firm as well. Look at this guy. This is actually just known as a giant crab. They grow to another 7 to 8 kilos with claws the size of my arm. And the way to eat these is enjoy it in a restaurant with about 10 friends. It costs you a lot less, and what'll happen is they'll bring it out to you in about 10 courses. So you'll start with the soup, then fried with noodles, then the claws. It's just a wonderful way to eat. Crustaceans is all about family and friends and being with a group of people. All right, next crabs. The beautiful blue swimmer, cooked in green or blue. One of the only crustaceans that don't come live. They don't survive very well out of the water. Good in Thai curries. One of the best curries I've ever had was a Thai yellow curry sitting on the beach in Thailand with a beer. You can steam them, take the meat out, but if you're going to do that, buy these cooked ones. All right, here's an exciting development in the world of Australian aquaculture. Soft-shell crabs are amazing because you can eat the whole shell. These guys are great to cook in hand rolls like the Japanese do. The Americans crumb them. I just prefer battered, like a bit of tempura batter, deep fried. Again, really crisp and nice, and the sensation of eating a whole crab shell and all, but also beautiful flavours and sweet, lovely flesh. Okay, I have a live southern rock lobster and a live local lobster. You can tell they're very different. The local lobster comes from the south coast of New South Wales around Ulladulla. Southern rock lobster is found all the way along the coastline, probably from Queensland all the way down to Western Australia. The varieties change, the species change, but the southern rock lobster is the prized one. It's prized for the flavour of its flesh, it's prized for its size, and also for the way the flesh cooks. It's beautifully and soft, and it also makes wonderful sashimi. On the freshwater side, there's a few others that I'd like to show you. There's a Maron, which is what we're using today. And this is, as I said, from Western Australia and really one of the true indigenous species of Australia. And a yabby. The thing about freshwater fish, though, is they're probably a little bit short on the flavour. They have a nice sweetness, but you really need to think when you're cooking with freshwater crayfish about what you combine to enhance the flavour. And I think it's up to you which way you want to go. I feel that that's the king, and it's really one of the most beautiful creatures. And the colour of the shell, once it's cooked, is stunning. These guys in salads are beautiful as long as you're really careful with what you put it in with and how you cook it. All right, finally, bugs. Now, most people don't like to eat bugs, but bugs are these wonderful creatures. There's about 5 varieties. The one with the wide, round head is a Balmain bug. The thing about a Balmain bug is it has a very, very distinctive flavour. Some people dislike it immensely, others love it. So if you don't like the strength of the flavour, then you go for a Moreton Bay bug. But as a cooked product, this is great. Live, chill them down, and then use them in salads or stir fries. I have to tell you one more thing. All of this stuff, they're all animals, they're all creatures, and a lot of them are best live. So you need to dispatch with these creatures humanely. It's a big part of it, you know. The most humane way to do it is to chill them. So that means put them in the bag that you get them from, into the freezer. Don't let them freeze because it'll break down the flesh, but it needs to get to a stage where they are actually just very slow. Once they've come out of the freezer, they are virtually incapacitated and they will not be feeling pain. So do it very quickly, cut them directly in half. The other way to do it is buy it at the markets and they'll kill it for you. If you bring a big pot of water to the boil and you put a crustacean into it, doesn't matter what size it is, and you cook it for 8 to 9 minutes, you'll find that it's always perfect. First dish is a salad of Maron, shaved fennel, arugula, and Asian dressing. It's really simple, it's light, and it's all about flavours. First off, starting with the sauce, there's a few classic techniques. Firstly, julienne. You just slice the chilli all the way down the middle, and then you need to flatten it out, take the seeds out first, but then to get really, really nice julienne, you actually need to take a lot of the flesh away, because what you want to do is just have the skin. So by placing a knife down like that, having your fingers nice and flat in case you slip, and just shaving a perfect little piece off the chili. And then let your knife just slide over. So that's a julienne. I'm going to put that into here. Next will be a chiffonade. It's like a julienne, but you usually use it for leaves. If you want a really fine garnish, if you're making a soup or something like that, and you want to put some leaves through it, to chiffonade them is a great way to do it. So take all the stems off, okay, and we're doing it with just 1 stalk of coriander. I'm also going to use for flavour the root of the coriander. So I'm just going to take 1 coriander root, we want to extract all the flavour. You can just bang it and then chop it. People throw the very end of the root away, but if you know Thai cuisine, that's where the flavour is. It goes into the plate. Now, chiffonade, you can put all the leaves together. Very fine again. It's all about colour. Now, you'll notice too that I've got no liquids in there because this is a very fresh dressing. If I put all the liquids in, which are quite, you know, strong flavours, what's going to happen is that everything will wilt, the colours will go, and it's not going to be as nice to eat. So next is a brunoise. It's a fine dice. So to get the finest dice, slice down as close as you possibly can, halfway, and then one more time. So you're doing 3 cuts into the onion, and then just, again, a nice dice straight through, and then throw that in as well. Next is garlic, crushed garlic. If you crush garlic like this, you're really getting all the essence out of it. Just remember that you've done it on this board before you have your Vegemite on toast in the morning because it's not the best. All right, so next is spring onion. I'm not using the leaves. I've got my green in there and I don't really need it. What I'm after is the real flavour from this. And then doing a rough julienne, turning it around, and finally dicing it. Texture is really important in food. It's how it feels in your mouth. It's like wine or anything. It's all about sensations. That's what food's all about. Next, we have to have 2 beautiful limes. Just give it a nice roll, okay? You're gonna loosen up all the little cells in there and you'll get more juice out of it, so you get value for money. Using a microplane, I just want to get the zest by using as much of 2 limes as you can. Okay, so just juicing them. Juice and zest make 2 different flavours. The zest has that really oily, beautiful, citric sort of flavour, but it doesn't have the acid. And then you add the juice to it and it sort of brings it up and gives you that beautiful citric acid as well. 50 grams of brown sugar adds the sweetness. Stir this through. It's really important that it dissolves so that you don't have any solid bits of sugar in there. Brown sugar has more molasses in it, so you're going to get that beautiful caramelly flavour. So to the lime and brown sugar, about 30 mils of fish sauce. I'm saying about because the concentrations of salt in fish sauce changes. So start with that and then add more. It's very hard to take out. Salt's one of those ones that's very, very, very hard to remove. Put less than you think, add at the end, and that way you're going to end up with a much better result. 5 mils of soy sauce. Measure this. Try and use light soy sauce because we don't want to be adding too much salt. Just make sure all the sugar is dissolved. Add it to your ingredients and stir. Now's the time to taste. Now's the time to balance. Try not to double dip when you taste as well. Perfect. I'm lucky this time. But try and get it right the first couple of times because with strong sauces, once you've tasted it a few times, you can't taste anything. But now that's fresh, it's crunchy, it's ready to go. Just going to put it aside. The next stage is garnish. So, grapes. I'm using flame grapes because they have no seeds. There's another little garnish I have, which are just chives. And then all we're doing is just cutting some battens. This is the pretty part of it. Shaved fennel, a mandolin or a very sharp knife. 3 more ingredients. First one, and I had to use it, flying fish roe. We are at flying fish. But the reason I love to use this, I mean, the Japanese use it and most people would use it for the same reason, and that is a crunch, a great texture and a beautiful flavour as well. I'm also going to use avruga. Now, avruga has an amazingly smoky flavour, but it's actually not caviar. It looks like it, but it's fish, which has been ground up and then made to look like fish eggs and flavoured with a little bit of smoke. And lastly, sumac. Anyone know what sumac is?
It comes from Middle Eastern cultures, use it a lot.
Yeah, it gives another sensation. The last thing we have to do now is clean the cooked marons. Very simple. Push the shell in and twist it, and then you'll get all of it. Then we want to do the claws, so you break them off at the first knuckle. Next, removing the shell. It's quite easy just to crack them with your fingers and then break them open. What you're trying to do is to get the piece of meat out intact, looking lovely. Yeah. Okay? Next stage, using the heel of your knife, just crack it lightly and peel that off so that you have a whole claw intact, and that really is just a garnish. Yeah. Okay? Next, just cutting it down the middle, and here you'll see the intestinal tract. Just take it out and square them off so that it's going to look lovely. For each one of these dishes, I'm just using 5 pieces. Now, to plate it. the fennel with the sauce, 2 spoonfuls of that into it. Give it a nice mix. 1 bulb's enough for 4 serves. A little bit of fennel in the bottom. All right, so now I'm just going to build it with the Maron. Next, the sauce. Just another little spoonful on top. Next is the arugula. 1 nice spoonful. We want the smokiness of this to come out. Just on top. Followed by 3 pieces of grape, just for visual effects. Next, sumac. Next, flying fish roe. A great sensation as far as texture's concerned. Nice flavours as well. The next is the claws, just around the outside. Something else for people to bite. And then a garnish of chive. So that's it, guys. Salad of Maron, shaved fennel and arugula. Asian dressing. Come up and taste. So visually, lots of colours. You know, there should be lots of flavours there too. And I suggest you get a little bit of everything on your fork when you have a try. So please, get into it.
I love it. I'm someone that doesn't like really strong flavoured seafood, but I love the Maron because it is quite subtle, and then it really complements. Putting the grapes with it is a really lovely compliment because it's a little bit sweet too.
Well, thank you. So there are 3 tips that I think you should always use when you make a dish like this. Firstly, fresh seafood. Make friends with your fishmonger. The most vital thing, you can't take salt out, so just make sure that you add a little bit less and then finish it off by tasting it. And the last, of course, keep it simple. Look after your flavours and people will always enjoy your food.
Next up in Masterclass, we're going to do an Italian classic using veal, which is veal saltimbocca. What veal saltimbocca is veal wrapped in pancetta or prosciutto with sage. So I need a helper for this one. Callum, you going to come up and give me a hand?
Sure.
This is a pretty expensive piece of veal. First up is we're just going to take off this scotch, essentially, from the rib. What I want to do is cut little steaks from this, or little scallops that are about 120 grams or so, which we're going to bat out lightly. All right, Callum, if you can stretch out a bit of that cling film and then just pop those right in the middle and equidistant apart, and then put another layer over the top, and I'll show you the first one. When you bat something out, you're not whacking it randomly. Just try and very lightly work in nice, neat lines, and either work across and then up, or up and then across, but work in a methodical fashion, all right, and be very gentle. Hold the hammer close to the head of the hammer so that you're not putting an enormous amount of weight on and that you've got some control, okay? It's just very gentle. Yeah. Yep, perfect. Brilliant. Let's do the next phase, and that's wrapping these little babies up with the sage. We're just going to put these slices down. This is the pancetta. And then what we want to do is put 2 nice leaves of sage on each of the veal, just face up like that, and just press them down onto the meat. And what that sage is going to do is put flavour into that veal. And then, Callum, what I want you to do is just put these upside down and then wrap them quite tightly so that they've stuck.
Yeah.
And that you get that little piece of veal like that. All right? The term saltimbocca means leap in your mouth or jump in your mouth, which is really interesting, isn't it? Because we say veal saltimbocca and it sounds beautiful, whereas if we put veal jump in your mouth on the menu, no one would buy it. All right, thanks for that. You can go and have a little seat. Next stage in the saltimbocca, you don't have to do this, but it's a little dusting of flour. So I'm going to put some pepper and salt onto the flour just to season it. And then what I want to do is just very lightly dip that in. And all this will do is it'll give you a lovely golden brown finish on the saltimbocca. And also I'm going to deglaze the pan and make a little sauce in it, and it'll leave a bit of flour residue in the pan, which will thicken that sauce. Good amount of olive oil, because you want it to brown really evenly. This is quite a high heat, because what you want to do is cook that veal so it's still pink in the middle. See that golden brown? That's what I'm after, which is beautiful. So because that's only going to take a few seconds, I'm going to pop in garlic, which is going to crisp up. And then I've got some capers, that were in salt but have now rinsed. Sage leaves, plenty of them. And then a nice little chunk of butter that I'm just going to allow to froth up around the veal. And once all that's in and starting to permeate around the veal, it's only now that I'm going to turn it over, because I know that all that flavour's worked its way around onto the surface of that presentation side. And then next in, I'm going to throw in some cherry tomatoes, and this is going to form part of my sauce. All right, so veal out, and that's still pretty pink. I'm just going to let that rest. And then what I want to do is just cook those tomatoes for a few seconds, and I'm going to actually just try and crush a couple so that they bleed into that butter. Then wine. And this is what I mean about building the sauce in the pan and using that little bit of the flour off the veal just to give you some weight in the sauce. And then tiny little bit of lemon juice. And then I've got some little baby spinach leaves, which are just going to add a lovely colour. And just toss it for a few seconds. And you can add a little bit of pepper if you want. But essentially what I've got is this lovely sauce made from the juices of the pan, the garlic that's gone crispy and golden, and then those crushed tomatoes. The veal's rested, sauce is made, smelling gorgeous. So all we've got to do now is plate it up. So what I'll do is just pop this on the plate. And then a few of these little blistered cherry tomatoes, a little bit of lemon, and then just a drizzle of George's old mate, the olive oil. All right? And that's my interpretation of a classic veal saltimbocca and a little sauce made from cherry tomatoes and garlic from the juices in the pan. Okay, we need some tasters. Claire, Jake and Callum. Dig in. Tell me what you think.
The sage is awesome.
I love the spinach and the juiciness of the tomatoes. Really gives it a bit of a lift.
Adds a bit of freshness to it.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
The sage is milder than I was expecting it to be.
I love it. It's really good.
Beautiful. Thanks, guys. So my 3 tips for a perfect saltimbocca. Choice of veal is absolutely critical. If it's pre-tenderised, it will be dry, especially if you overcook it. Tip number 2, remember veal doesn't have a lot of fat because it's young, so you have to cook it quickly and keep it pink, otherwise it will be overcooked and very, very dry. And tip number 3, always think about those juices in the pan and how easy it is to make a nice sauce out of that sediment. It's going to make the world of difference to your dish.
We're here at Flying Fish and we're doing crustaceans. The dish that I'm doing next is going to be marrons steamed with ginger chili shallot sauce, which is a favourite in the restaurant and has been on my menus for probably 20 years. So welcome to some secrets. This is a really easy sauce. 3 chilies, chop the tops off, leave the seeds in. We want the heat, roughly chopped. Next is garlic. 3 cloves of garlic for this sauce. Again, roughly chopped. 3 knobs of ginger. A knob of ginger should be about the size of your thumb. So roughly chopped as well. Coriander, including roots, washed. Make sure there's nothing in there and just chop it. Leaves and all. So you're going to have texture as well as the colour. Spring onion, just 1 of these. And this will give you that oniony flavour, a little bit of the sweetness as well. 300 mils of soy sauce, light soy sauce. 300 mils of mirin. Mirin is a sweet sake, so that'll add a little bit of viscosity to the dish, and also when it cooks down, it'll assist in the caramelisation and the sweetness of it. 250 mils of sweet chili sauce. White wine to give it acid and to break it down a little bit. That's 125 mils of white wine. And sesame oil, 100 mils of that. Okay, next stage is very easy. Put the lid on, pulse it a few times. And once it gets going, blend it up really well. It doesn't take long. And that's it. Like, there's your sauce. It's easy to make and very tasty.
Pete,
yeah.
If you were going to make that sauce in advance, how long could you keep that for?
Because of all the ingredients that I put in, it'll hold for 3 to 6 weeks. So make up a batch, because to make a small amount's quite hard.
Yeah.
And I've given this to people and they've just used it on everything. You can use it in chicken, you can put it on prawns or anything. It goes really well with pretty much anything. All right, so a taste. The only thing you can change if you want to is the heat, but using the long red chilies, it's just right. Next is the marrons itself. Now, they've been humanely killed by putting them into ice water until they go totally dead, and then we cut them in half. Sometimes you have to remember that they will move. There will be a twitch in there, but they are dead. Want to come and help me, my friend?
Sure, absolutely.
I'll show you one, Peter, and then you can get into the rest of them, okay? Now, put it through the head and crunch down, then turn it around, and the same again. Okay, when you get to the tail part, if you're too slow, what'll happen is you'll crush it. So hand there, okay, all the way through. Now, inside here are the guts, and also you need to get out the intestinal tract, okay? And I want them put face up because I don't want the sauce to boil through them. What I want is the sauce to be in the bottom and the marron is just nicely steamed. Do you want to have a go? Okay, yeah, so, you know, be strong because when you back off or you're a bit concerned, that's when you're going to slip. Hold it, firmly push into it. That's it, all the way down, nice and fast. That's it. Now turn the marron around.
Do you flick the tail right out?
Have it
like
nice
that?
and flat, because otherwise you're going to crush the shell.
Okay.
That's it. Great.
Oh, and that tract just comes out
It
pretty
will
easily.
come out. With your crustaceans or even fish, don't wash them. You see people opening oysters and they wash the oyster. You've lost the beauty of the oyster, you know. Oyster comes from south coast somewhere. You want to taste that river.
So, Peter, for instance, is that okay?
That's fine. It's pretty simple, isn't it? It's all about flavours and freshness. The meat in this marron is nice and firm, and that's the thing about having live crustaceans, is that a lot of them do not transport very well once they're dead. So, you know, it's kind of necessary to enjoy the best that a crustacean has. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Peter.
Rest of it's easy. So, lastly, I'm going to put the sauce in, but the sauce, as you can see, has started to separate. So this sauce, even if you keep it for a long time, make sure you stir it before you use it every time. And then we're just going to pour about half of this sauce on. And then, have to cook it. So a lid, some heat. With these, 10 minutes maximum, hot stove, bring it to the boil. When it's halfway through, just take it off and check, and never let the sauce reduce too much. You let the sauce reduce too much, it'll caramelise and burn. You won't have that lovely golden colour. And, you know, nothing worse than burnt foods. All right, guys, 10 minutes has gone. Let's see what they like.
Ooh, spot on.
They've turned colour, they've got that lovely orange glow to them, and the aroma that comes off is great. So let's serve it up. What you want to do here is build the height. So get yourself a really nice base first, and then just build it up slowly so that you've got a really nice pile of marrons with this lovely sauce. Make them come to a nice pinnacle, and then sauce. Try and have the sauce just run down in a nice pool of sauce at the bottom. And the last stage, of course, is to garnish it. Got lots of red there, so I'm just going to put a little bit of coriander into it right at the end. That's it. Maron's ginger chili shallot sauce for flying fish. Come and taste it. Let me serve you. Yeah, it goes well.
That is such a beautiful texture.
Yep.
Oh, and there's just the right amount of chili as well, you know.
Got to remember too with marrons, they're not that flavoursome. They have a very subtle flavour, so this sort of enhances it. It's a great carrier of flavours, but it doesn't overpower it. And it's just a great way to eat crustaceans. Glad you enjoy it.
It's delicious.
A couple of tips. Number one, ensure that when you cut them in half, you take out the intestinal tract and clean the guts. When you're cooking them, don't turn them at all and ensure that they just steam so that you can still taste the marron itself. And lastly, presentation. Make it stand nice and high. Give them a finger bowl. Make people feel okay to eat with their fingers. Good luck in the rest of the competition.
Thank you.
I hope this helps you. Cooking's all about passion.
Yep.
Keep the passion and you'll get a long way.
Bye.
Bye, thanks.
Next up, we're going to make a really, really simple dessert. It's a white chocolate cannelloni with a strawberry minestrone. The first step is I need to create a real thin, flavoursome strawberry soup. I've got a punnet of strawberries here that I have cut the top off and then cut in half. 1 stick of cinnamon, vanilla pod, just split, scrape all the seeds out, and they go in, the whole lot. 2 tablespoons of sugar. To that, about a cup worth of sparkling wine. Now, it's important that you wrap this with 3 to 4 layers of plastic wrap, really tight, over the bowl. This goes over a bain-marie, and on very low heat, we leave that simmer away for about an hour. Those strawberries are going to expel all their flavour and colour into that champagne. Next up, I'm going to make a simple chul mixture, a biscuit, okay? And this is going to form the outside of the cannelloni. And to do that, very simple. I'm using the Thermomix. Why? Because it's high speed and I can blend it quickly. You can use a normal blender, yeah? So I pop my dry ingredients first. I've got 250 grams of almond meal, 25 grams of plain flour, 50 grams of caster sugar. Lid goes on, and we just blend all that dry ingredients up. And then in with our 4 egg whites. And that's it, that's done. And then what we've got here is this beautiful chul mixture. This will last a good week in the fridge, and you can use it as you need it. So this is going to form the outside of the cannelloni. Next is we need to actually make the cannelloni. What I've got here is just the top of a lid, okay, and I've just cut out a square. What I've got here is a silicone mat, and this is oven proof and won't melt in the oven, and will be easy to remove the chul off the actual mat. Right, now you need to sort of use your cement rendering technique here. It's really important that you get this as smooth as possible. There you go. This goes now on a tray, and we bake that 180 degrees for 8 minutes. Now we're going to make a really simple white chocolate mousse, and to help me, Jonathan, come on down. We've got 375 grams of cream that needs to be whisked to soft peaks. Yeah. Okay, if you can do that for me, make sure you get all of it into the bowl there.
I whipped my last cream to butter.
How are we all going? What are we up to?
The cream is curdled, so it's creating a butter, which is over there.
While you're whisking the 375 grams of cream, pastry chefs work in grams, and then they know how precise everything is. I've got 275 grams of full cream milk, and I just need to scald it. Scalding it basically means bringing it up to the boil and turning it off. Next, I want to soak 4 leaves of gelatine. That's gold leaf gelatine. Jonathan, you're working nice and clean?
Nice and clean.
No cream everywhere?
No.
So soft peaks, that's pretty good, Jonathan. Just a little bit more. It's just enough where the peaks just start to fall over. They're good, that's good. No butter this time. Fantastic, thank you, Jonathan. Our milk's starting to bubble around the edges. At that point, I add the gelatine. Flick the gas off, give it a shake, and that gelatine melts through. And then I just add it to 350 grams of white chocolate. And that's just going to melt the chocolate without boiling the chocolate. Now, I've incorporated the milk, the gelatine, and the white chocolate. I need to bring this chocolate down to 35 degrees before I add it to this semi-whipped cream. Or else what's going to happen is it's going to just send that to mush. If it's too cold, then what's going to happen, it's going to separate with the cream. So this is a really important stage that we get it to 35 degrees. And, you know, we can just pop that in the fridge as is, just to cool it down. Just come back to it every 2 minutes and give it a whisk. Right, guys, the chul mix has been in the oven for about 10 to 12 minutes. With this plastic PVC pipe, we're going to form the cannelloni. It's really important you work quick. You just pull it off and leave that to the side. It's going to cool down, ready for us to put the chocolate mousse inside. We're making white chocolate cannelloni with a strawberry minestrone. The white chocolate mousse is in the fridge setting. We're now going to push on and finish the strawberry soup. These strawberries have been sitting over the double boiler on a really low heat for about an hour, okay? Enough to expel all the flavour and colour of the strawberries. I've pulled them off, set them aside, cooled them down. See how the strawberries are gone all sort of no colour or anything in them left. Just all the flavours in there now. And now I'm ready to strain all those strawberries out of that liquid. Now, I'm not going to push these strawberries at all. I just want to tap the juice out, because if I push the strawberries, it'll actually push some of that sediment through, and I don't want that. That there's ready to rock and roll, and we just pop that into a nice little serving jug. Our white chocolate's been in the fridge because we need to bring it down to 35 degrees, so I'll go and check. That's perfect. Our next step is to incorporate the chocolate in with the cream. Claire, come up, give me a hand quickly. I'm going to pour, you're going to whisk. Just really gently, because we don't want to over-whip the cream. So like a mayonnaise, you slowly emulsify the white chocolate. It's going to go loose, yeah, but don't forget we've got gelatine in this, so when it goes into the fridge, it's going to set perfectly. That's looking beautiful. Look how shiny that's looking. And now we just fill it up into vessels. You can use whatever you want. I'm going to pipe it, so it doesn't really matter, okay?
Evenly?
Yeah, evenly, so they're all equal. If I'm going to pipe it, do I need to divide it in 4? I just find that at the end of the day, I'm only going to use a couple of portions at a time, so I prefer to, you know, work quite clean, take what I need, move on to the next one. Brilliant. Now we're going to pop these in the fridge to set, ready to be used. Our mousse has been in the fridge for a couple of hours. It's nice and soft, but set. Just pop this into a piping bag. I'm just using a straight nozzle because I need to be able to fill that cannelloni up with the white chocolate mousse. I've got some fresh strawberries that I've just sliced, and this is going to create the base to the cannelloni to stand it up. Next step is to fill the actual chul biscuit, the cannelloni, with the white chocolate mousse. I go halfway in, and to make sure the whole lot's full, turn it around. Crease side down, and then a little bit of the strawberry soup. I finish with some sparkling wine, just to freshen it up a little bit. That goes down in front of the customer. Waiter walks over and then gently drops the soup into the bowl. So simple, so easy. And a dessert that would be worthy sitting in a restaurant and enjoyed. So, tasting time. Shani, come on. Jonathan, Joanne, come and taste. Let's give it a crack and get in there.
I love it.
Yeah.
I'm going to make that for my kids. That is, it's crunchy and sweet, but it's not too sweet.
Yeah.
It seems like kind of simple, I guess, to look at, but it's absolutely beautiful.
That is good.
Thanks, guys.
Thank
Well
you.
done.
Thank you.
Right, guys, top 3 tips. Allow the chul mixture to rest before you use it. Top tip number 2, when you melt that chocolate, you need to make sure it cools down to 35 degrees before you incorporate it with the cream, or else it's going to separate, or you're going to turn it into butter. My 3rd tip is important. A little bit of sparkling wine right at the end in the soup will just lift it right up. Make it beautiful, bubbly and tasty.
George, where's my cannelloni? Oh, thanks. Thanks very much for saving me some. I'll have a strawberry then.
It's healthy. Right, guys, that marks the end of Masterclass today. Come up, grab something to eat, and let's celebrate.
Ah, the wanderers have returned. Good?
George,
Fantastic.
beautiful.
What's up? What's up? George, keep going, keep going, keep going.
Hey, guys, can I say, through all the twists, the turns, the ups, the downs, you're here right now. The top 16 amateur cooks of Australia. Congratulations, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you, guys. Well done.
Next time on MasterChef Australia.
Welcome back to the MasterChef kitchen.
The amateurs kick off a big week of surprises with a race to create the perfect pizza.
You are kidding me.
Then, a challenging test of the imagination in the invention test.
Come on, Aussies, let's go!
And for the first time, they'll cook with a core ingredient that will test them like never before.
I think it's thrown a lot of them.
I mean, this is brutal.
For the 3 least impressive dishes, the MasterChef journey will be on the line.
I know what's coming and none of it's going to be good. I've made a complete mess of it.